uppercut, try to hit me in the gut, thinking that I won't react. You whisper in my name, thinking I won't be the same. Turn fiction into fact. See what you didn't know, bruises that I'll never show.
Thank you all for joining us. Tonight we will be discussing the potential criminal charges that are being brought against the Trump administration for contempt of court for its deportation of 8 people yesterday, all of whom have now vanished. Also on the table is the budget, which it turns out counter to Trump's claims that they're not to touch Medicaid, the CBO, or Medicare. The CBO is now saying that there will be over $550 billion. That's more than half the budget of Medicaid is in fact going to be cut by the current, Medicare by the current budget. And a pet kangaroo escapes in Chicago, leading police on a bounding chase through the suburbs. This is In Time.
Hi, my name is Seth Andrews, and this is In Time.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Suter, and this is In Time. Zandering, how are you? Oh, your shield is... Let's get that up. How are you?
Oh my God, I can see. I'm getting ready to break out my socks. I mean, and move into Chicago, man.
Yeah,
Get a sock hop going on.
I didn't believe it. We've got the footage. We're going to have to show you. I think that's just the way it's going to be. We're starting with.
Did the police spring into action to resolve the situation?
I should not have. I'm at this point. I'm going to cut that out. We should have put that in the thumbnail. Just have a kangaroo flying through the. Apparently somebody decided to open a bag and use a pouch to try to convince the kangaroo that they were friendly, and I guess it worked. I don't know. It was a domesticated kangaroo, which I didn't realize you could do or would be a good idea. Oh. But on a more serious note, on literally 4 days shy of the anniversary of the killing of George Floyd, the Justice Department has moved to cancel settlements with Minneapolis and Louisville, which called for an overhaul of the police departments in the wake of the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. As everyone here knows, we covered it quite extensively. The Black Lives Matter protests sprang from the killing of George Floyd. And there was a settlement that had been reached that would involve an overhaul of the police department. Now, we mentioned this on his first day when we were covering all of his Trump's new executive orders. He was repealing, or said that he would be repealing any number of these reforms that had been agreed to by the Justice Department. This one, while it's been agreed to and the judge has consented, it has not yet been signed off and made official. It was just literally weeks away from that. The former head of the Civil Rights Division has said that. Let's see. The current one said, it is our view that the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division under the Trump administration feels that the micromanagement of police should be a rare exception and not the norm. Meanwhile, the former head of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, says that their investigation and deal that was reached with Minneapolis was, quote, led by career attorneys based on data, body camera footage, and information provided by the officers themselves. To wholesale ignore and disregard these systemic violations laid bare in well-documented and detailed public records shows patent disregard for our federal civil rights and Constitution, said Kristen Clark to the Associated Press. The Trump administration says it is reviewing more than a dozen consent decrees, which are negotiated settlements between the parties involved in these actions. And this is absolutely stunning. This happened just a couple of hours ago. Any thoughts, Zandring?
I think that it's going to be a little difficult to get the policing force that we need when people stop working together. So I'm not particularly thrilled about that.
I mean, the trial of I've forgotten his name. It'll come to me. The man who put his knee on the neck.
Chauvin.
Chauvin, thank you. Was a necessary. It was a necessary component of, healing for this country, which still has not healed from it, but at least the protests have stopped, and the protests, a lot sprang from those protests, and the idea that all of that is now going to be undone. Not the convictions. So this does not address. This is just the department's negotiated settlement with the police force regarding systematic changes to how they operate to make sure that people's civil liberties are protected. So this literally just happened. We're gonna keep an eye on it. The other thing that is so. Join us on the Discord, and we'll see what happens. But the idea that both of those, the Breonna Taylor and George Floyd deals made with the Justice Department between the cities involved and their police forces, that those have just been dropped with prejudice is. The hits keep coming. Meanwhile, South Africa's president, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, Ramaphosa, was in the White House today, and about 45 minutes in, what was described as a choreographed or orchestrated burst came out where Donald Trump confronted him regarding white genocide occurring in South Africa. He used a lot of already debunked claims and false data. The meeting became very tense, as one would expect, and is the second time Trump has ambushed somebody in the White House. This is obviously sparking people to wonder, how is he going to have meetings and host future presidents if they expect that all of them are going to get ambushed at some point in the White House? This is another just happened earlier today. I don't think that even our allies should be coming to the White House at this point, given what happened to Zelensky and now Africa's president. But again, we'll be following that on the Discord. Now on to the deportations. Yesterday, what was at first reported to be a dozen, then 12, now 8 people were deported from the United States. They were put on a plane, apparently, and let's see if we've got the letter. According to the letter from the wife of one of these men, we read this yesterday, but we'll bring this one back up. I believe my husband and 10 other individuals that were sent to the Port Isabel Detention Center in Los Francis, Texas, were deported to South Africa or Sudan early this morning. Yesterday, ICE gathered them together and told them that ICE, intended to send them all to South Africa, and everyone refused to sign the documentation presented. Now, we discussed this yesterday in our show, difficulties notwithstanding. They have been ordered not to deport anyone to third countries unless they agree or without giving them a genuine chance at contesting the deportation to third countries. They can be deported home. Even that, according to the Supreme Court, requires at least the bare minimum due process. But if they're going to go to third countries, they are required to be given a hearing. They can contest it. The U.S. has 14 days to appeal the contestation or say why it's not appropriate, and then a judge decides. Obviously, this did not happen here, and all of the men were sent out. The order of removal signed by a judge to deport my husband back to his country of origin, Vietnam, not to any other third country. The detention centers are overcrowded and inhumane conditions, and ICE is... All right, so where did the plane go? The plane was tracked yesterday, and it stopped in Ireland, presumably to refuel. Then the final place that it stopped, this is a country I've never even heard of. Let me see if I can find it. It's 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐴. I'm almost certainly mispronouncing that. It is in the Horn of South Africa. And that's where it landed, and it hasn't been seen or heard from since. Nobody knows where the 8 men are. They did not arrive in South Sudan. Again, the U.S. government did originally say they were going to South Sudan. Then it said they didn't know where they were going. Then it said they knew, but they couldn't tell anyone. And now nobody knows where they are. You and I had this discussion, Xander, earlier, which is, and somebody had mentioned in the live chat, that we're basically getting one... I mean, what Pinochet would do is he'd deport them, but really he'd fly over the ocean, open up the door of the plane, and throw them out from 30,000 feet. If they're stopping at South Sudan, where the vice president is currently under arrest for attempting a coup d'état, it's considered the newest nation in the country because it's a fledgling interim government, and even Marco Rubio called it an interim government when he said we would be deporting people there. They're not even and they said they have no idea. They said they're not aware of anyone coming to South Sudan. So it looks like the plane was going to just land there, let the people out. Let the people out, and then I don't know, just take off again and leave 10 people stranded in the middle of South Sudan, 10 people who aren't from that country. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that is one step shy of straight up just taking a leisurely flight out through the Atlantic or the Pacific and coming back with an empty plane. Oh, where did those illegals go? Oh, they wanted out. They didn't want to ride back, so they went ahead and got off. What the hell do you mean they got off? It's a plane. Where did you land? Oh, we didn't. And they got off, and they willingly did so. Yeah, we gave them a parachute. That's frightening.
Yeah.
We have no idea where these people are. We don't even know for sure where they were kicked out of the plane at all.
Yep.
So yeah, that's these are the things you should be terrified when your government starts doing these things.
Yeah, I'm almost going back to that. So we've asked why people aren't responding more to it, and the general consensus is a state of shock and awe, and we're all just like, is this really happening? And I'm kind of back to that. These 8 are just gone, and it's in complete violation. So the judge is a Boston judge. He's a federal judge. He said no more deportations without the 14-day due process. None of these men had that, so he has now asked for the names of everybody involved at every level in this deportation for criminal contempt charges. Now, because these are criminal charges, you actually end up having a trial and all this other stuff. It is not civil contempt. It's much more serious. Having said that, we're going to end up right back to the same problem of this is a federal judge. I would assume Trump can pardon all of these people. I don't know what's going to happen with that. The judge seems very upset, but again, what is the judge actually able to do? Am I missing something?
Again, we'll go back to Andrew Jackson. You've made your ruling. Now enforce it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is the judiciary, I think, should go through and do all of these things. They should hold him in contempt when he's in contempt and violating orders and do all that stuff. But it's ultimately completely up to the legislative branch to actually do something about this, because the judiciary can't enforce anything on him. All they can do is look to the branch that can do something about it, the legislative branch, and say, hey, you need to be exercising your powers. This guy is violating all of our orders. He's breaking the law. We're holding him in contempt, and we can't do anything to him. So that's up to you guys. You need to do this. And I'm not entirely convinced that they will be able to do anything at all or have the will to do anything at all. And it's a bit frustrating, because it's like, you guys are supposed to be keeping on top of this to stop somebody from doing this, and you're cheering them on.
And it's the judicial branch that caused this, because
obviously, but not enough of them are concerned.
It was what was it? It was the Supreme Court of the United States that kept giving the executive more and more power. It's like, no, you can't arrest him. No, you can't charge him with crimes. No, you can't. While he's president, nobody can touch him. And it's like, what? And now they're sitting there trying to stop him, and they're the ones who said you can't stop him. So unless the legislative branch comes in and says, no, we're going to change the law so that you can. And yeah, I agree. I don't see any interest in doing that. Before we get to the legislative branch, because we have one or two interesting things there, I will point out that we also have a report that a number of ICE officials have been showing up today across the country and were arresting people who were showing up for their immigration hearings. This is a problem because it causes the entire system to break down. These are people who are actually following the law. They're showing up to their hearings, and then they're getting arrested at their hearings, even if they haven't committed a crime, or if the hearing is there to determine if they've committed a crime. So if they get arrested at the hearing, now there's an incentive not to go to the hearings. Now they're all going to become criminals, and they're going to get hunted. It's a vicious circle. You can't disincentivize people going to their immigration hearing, especially their legitimate, honest immigration hearing that they're supposed to be having. We don't know how many have this is all secondhand reports. It's just been over the last 4 or 5 hours where people are saying that this has been happening today across the country, but no major media has picked up on it, and other than a few sources we've seen on social media, we don't know how big that is, but it looks like it's yet more of this push to start getting people out of the country. The other thing that he's done is these people were told to sign a agreement that they agreed to be deported to South Africa, and obviously this was not going to be done. It's coerced, so they weren't doing it voluntarily. But he's apparently trying to get a number of people to go voluntarily, including offering $1,000 to anybody and a free flight to anyone who will deport themselves. So a number of people have taken themselves up on this. They've taken a $1,000 debit card to the country of their choice and been deported. This program is not anticipated to be overly successful. It's mostly the people who are already planning on leaving who are self-deporting, but they managed to get a free ticket and $1,000 out of it. So, yay, I guess. Meanwhile, the budget bill is now out of committee, but it is having considerable troubles in Congress. The difficulty being that it is going to cut Medicaid. And there has been a lot of talk. President Trump has said absolutely no cuts to Medicaid. It doesn't officially cut Medicaid. It doesn't say anywhere cut Medicaid. That's not in the budget. What it does do is cut over $880 billion from the committee that funds Medicaid. And it funds a couple of other programs, but none of those programs are sufficient to absorb the cuts. And in fact, there is something called the I've forgotten the name, PAYGO system, which determines when a cut is not paid for, where does the cut come from first? And PAYGO would demand, according to the Congressional Budget Office, PAYGO would demand that the cuts are going to come from Medicaid. So the Congressional Budget Office at this point says that this budget is going to take $550 billion out of Medicaid. That's more than half of the Medicaid program, which Trump says this bill doesn't touch, and he would never touch to save his life. And Republicans across the board are saying they're not touching. They're not gonna. We only have now 5 conservatives who are saying that they are not going to pass a budget that cuts Medicaid. And does it cut Medicaid? Officially, no. Unofficially, absolutely, to the tune of 550. Trump called all 5 of them into his office today and has tried to get all of them to change their mind and sign off on the bill. As of yet, they are not doing it. So there is a stall over this budget bill. The government is funded through September, if I recall correctly. So we're not looking at a government shutdown, but I don't see Trump changing his mind on this bill. It's his big, beautiful bill, and it has a huge number of cuts to those who are earning the most, a significant amount of cuts to spending to those who need it the most, like Medicaid, and a significant increase in military spending. It's going to add to the deficit, not subtract from it. And this is every politician that's for the bill says it's going to subtract from it. Every economist, everybody in the CBO says it's going to add to the deficit. And it doesn't take a lot of looking at just the broad numbers to understand how and why. We'll see where it goes. We had predicted on Friday, we thought the bill was going to sail through the committee. It did not. 5 conservatives said, no, we are not going to cut Medicaid, and we're not going to increase the deficit. We're done increasing the deficit. $35 trillion is enough. And we had that discussion on Friday, and we'll see how long they hold out. I don't know how much of a change they can make. Every Democrat is united with them, behind them, in stopping this bill. I think it's going to be interesting, but it's that I'm aware of the single largest cut to Medicaid since the program started. I don't care that it doesn't say that. It goes to some length to not point out that that's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. And it's the very people who said they're tired of politicians and government lying to them that elected Trump, who has helped install it. It's utterly insane. So we'll see. We're going to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, let's see. The negotiations over the budget definitely have been altering. What was the... Okay, now those are the deportation numbers. So Trump is also now looking to void the temporary protected status of an additional 500,000 Haitians. These Haitians are here because their homes were destroyed in previous quakes. They were here under what's called temporary protected status. It means they're not actually trying to become citizens. They're not on a path to citizenship. It has to be reviewed every 18 months and applies only to people who are in escaping either a war zone or some form of natural disaster. It can be renewed indefinitely, really, but is not a path to citizenship. It is a license to work, and it is legal status in the U.S. as basically a natural disaster refugee or war refugee. He is going to be revoking 500,000, so that's 500,000 of those. He's already revoked 235,000 Venezuelans from that status. He did that about a month ago, and he's looking to expire they're just going to expire next month, and he's just not going to renew them. He's ordered that none of them be renewed and no more can be issued. That's going to be over 1 million new people that will be facing deportation. And I was reading the New York Times today, and even they admitted at this point it is, in fact, I'm going to see if I can find the article. It is a hodgepodge of states and orders. Who can he deport with how much warning and how much due process and what constitutes due process, and all of it is being litigated, appealed, relitigated, goes up to the Supreme Court that kicks it back down with it's insane. We're looking at criminal charges for these 8 men now that nobody knows where they are. My suspicion, and again we'll show where their plane landed. It was purportedly headed to South Sudan. My suspicion is that there's so much confusion over this. Nobody knew where it was going to land, that was its actual destination country, and that's where they are. They're going to stay there, and that's, the plane is going to leave once they're all off the plane. It's refueled and so on and so forth. I don't think that they've been ghosted or anything, but obviously there was no due process, and they're looking at criminal contempt charges, and who knows if that's even possible at this point. So let's see. Nope, that was for the contempt charges. So I just want to make sure we covered everything. I know there was one other thing we were going to cover. There's just been so much today. Yeah, PAYGO. Well, sorry, that's $535 billion in cuts to Medicaid. $535 billion, which is still more than half of Medicaid. Medicaid or Medicare? I always get the two. It's Medicare. Will be cut by the current budget, even though it doesn't say it. We have lost his Andering. Apologies on that. We'll hopefully have him back for the next show. That was once again a problem on my end. So apologies also as Andering for the lost connection. Before we go, just because I figure you deserve something to help ease your mind. This is true. Earlier today, a pet kangaroo escaped in the streets of Chicago, a Chicago suburb, and we bring you now the apprehension of that kangaroo.
Yeah.
The call note stated that there was a kangaroo running down the road on College, and requesting that officers respond to apprehend the kangaroo.
I got it. Yep. Hi, buddy.
When I heard the call come in, I was very excited. We had a call about maybe 6 or 8 months ago with the kangaroo, same one, and so I kind of knew what would happen and the story behind it. So I was excited. We had an officer ask one of the deputies close by for a lasso. And I don't know how far out he was, so I was like, you know what? We have him cornered now. We might as well just try and apprehend him now. So I reached down, was able to pet him, and grabbed him.
Hey, open your door. Negative.
Yeah, open the door.
We don't know if he jumped the fence or if the door was open and he got out. My guess is he just got out with the door being opened. 'Cause I know that the kangaroo does stay in the house with him. It's an awesome call. I'm happy that I was able to work with my team and my other officers on this call and experience this adventure.
Yeah.
He was that cool with you, huh?
Uh-huh.
High five.
I just grabbed him.
All right, and as you heard, that was the second time the police were called out there for that. And according to our latest statistics, the kangaroo was returned back home, where it was promptly met by ICE officials and is currently on a plane headed to Australia. The kangaroo deported on its way to Australia. No word on the due process. Thank you all for joining us, and have a good evening. Good night.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.